Everyone, and welcome back to Champions of Performance Marketing. We start the year with a new guest, someone who has a unique mix of experience in working with big advertising platforms, and also hands-on knowledge on how to optimize campaigns, which is very useful for any media buyer who wants to scale in a smart way, right? So I'm really excited to welcome Kaitlyn Mulliken from Newsbreak. She helps advertisers launch, optimize, and scale campaigns on one of the fastest growing native ad platforms that we have today, which is Newsbreak. What's interesting is that Katie also has experience working at TikTok for a couple of years, and I really hope she will share some of those, tips in that period. Okay, so today we'll dive into how performance marketers can make the most of a platform like Newsbreak, maybe some lessons from TikTok, and mostly how to learn what it takes to scale campaigns in our days today, right? So let's jump in. Hi, Katie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. Let's start with the basics. Your experience in performance marketing. How did you start? So what are you doing now at Newsbreak?
Sure, yeah. So I actually came originally from Disney doing advertising operations for linear TV. So that kind of got me, I guess, started in media, entertainment, advertising. And then from there, I worked in ad ops at TikTok for almost 4 years, doing a lot of the higher ticket product trafficking, like brand admission, hashtag challenges, things like that. And then working with large retail brands kind of across the board, CPG clients, auto, things like that. And it was really a good kind of segue into ad manager platforms, self-serve ad platforms, and performance marketing overall. So now I'm working with Newsbreak, which is great. They are a newer, smaller, really fast growing company. If anyone's kind of unfamiliar with Newsbreak, basically, Newsbreak is the number one local news app in the US. First and foremost, Newsbreak app functions as a news aggregator, sourcing local news content directly from 98% of US publishers, really looking at what users are reading, interacting with. The algorithm is really heavily giving content recommendations based on user activity and then showing them ads that they're most likely to convert on based off of all their behaviors. Newsbreak is, I would say, really good for high converting performance marketing type campaigns, just in general as a traffic source.
And like the type of traffic that Newsbreak offers for someone that didn't test it yet, it's native ads, right?
Yes. So we are kind of in this space that's somewhat between native and social, almost like a bridge, almost between native and social. With the algorithm optimizations and ad manager setup, I'd say is very similar to a social ad platform, similar to like TikTok, Meta.
Okay.
Whereas the unlimited placement strategy and the creative content that's within the app really mirrors like other native platforms where, the style of creatives simpler, kind of looks like the surrounding content, almost like news articles or educational, informative type advertising compared, I guess, to TikTok.
And in terms of particular verticals or type of offers that perform especially well on Newsbreak right now, if you can share that, I'm sure that it's very interesting to
Yeah,
know.
definitely. So the core Newsbreak audience, just I guess keep in mind that they're using a local news app. So they're in the kind of mindset of consuming information about their local area and community. The core audience are majority homeowners, age 45 plus, with a slight female skew.
Okay.
We like to say if you put it into one or two people, it would be the mom or dad of a household, lives in the Midwest US, has kids, owns their car, owns their home, kind of like decision makers of the household. So
Okay.
with that, things that do really well, lots of health and wellness, Nutra, pain relief, weight loss, insurance like home, auto, life, final expense, finance, like credit scores, bank offers. Home services are always really big on the platform just because we have so many homeowners, things like gutters, roofing, solar. And then ecom, anything really related to the home, to the yard, kitchen gadgets, gifting, supplements, things like that.
So something that it's needed for a family,
Exactly. Yeah.
an established family, I would say.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of lead generation is definitely one of, I'd say like finance and lead gen and ecom kind of across the board are the three
Okay.
like.
Okay. Good to know. So if someone wants to get started on Newsbreak today, what do they need to know about the process? I don't know, from getting approved to launching the first campaign.
Definitely. So we are a self-serve ad platform. So advertisers can come in and do everything themselves. There's no contract or anything they need to sign to get started. When setting up the campaign, I would note to just put in as much business information as possible when just registering your account. So you'll get approved super quick. Your business is verified. You're ready to go. Um, and then
So you have to have a business. I mean, it's not like,
yeah, so you don't need to have a business. If you do, then I would use that information when signing up because you'll just kind of go through really easily. Whereas if you don't have a legal business, you can definitely still run on Newsbreak. We have tons of independent media buyers or affiliates. They'll just put in kind of the information that they do have available. And if needed, they can reach out to ad support if there's any issue with like their approval. But just when signing up, use the landing page or website that you're planning to promote. That always helps. And then once you're signed up, the first step would be to, I'd say, install the Pixel and postback if you're able to. Even if you're not planning to launch for a little bit, having it installed on your page will help just start collecting some data so that when you do go live, the algorithm already has a little bit of information to work with and optimize towards. And then for campaign setup, it's really straightforward. For, I guess, just campaign setup, best practices would recommend 1 campaign, 2 ad sets, 3 to 5 ads per ad set, broad targeting, really let the algorithm do its thing, collect a ton of data. Budget's enough to get like 5 to 10 conversions a day, 5 to 10 times your goal CPA, and then 3 to 5 ads per ad set. So if advertisers have creatives that they're using and are successful on Meta or Google or Taboola, wherever else, you can just repurpose them, throw them right into Newsbreak. They tend to perform well on Newsbreak if they find success other places.
like on Meta, you saw that if they perform well on Meta, they perform well on Newsbreak as
Yeah.
well.
Typically, yeah, if you have like a winning meta ad, just throw it into Newsbreak. There's a good chance that it'll be a winner here as well. We do support both image and video. So recommend testing both. It's about a 50-50 mix.
And are there any common reasons for campaigns to get rejected or for accounts to be rejected?
Yeah, so I'd say for, I guess, ads to get rejected, really our ad policy is pretty straightforward. It mirrors a lot of other similar platforms, nothing too violent, graphic, crazy, misleading claims, things like that. One nuance we do have is since we are a news app, we don't allow anything to say breaking news if you are going to run on Newsbreak. But
Okay.
otherwise, it's pretty similar to any other platform. In terms of business rejection, it would just be if you have like a really high risk website or if they look at your business information, see that you've been frauding other companies. But in general, it's pretty straightforward. We want as many advertisers to have the chance to work with Newsbreak and find success. So we're not trying to limit anyone in any way.
So if you have a legit business, you want to try, if you have a legit website, not
Mhm.
scamming or something, you just run and you are getting approved really fast. That's what you're saying,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. You were mentioning about the campaign structure. So can you tell me again the well-structured campaign, how it looks on Newsbreak? You mentioned that it's one campaign, one ad group, and how many ads?
So we suggest 1 campaign, 2 ad sets, and
2
then
ad
3
sets.
to
Okay.
5 ads within each ad set.
And they can
Yes. So we
be
can say like, yes, image and video. So you could say like 1, 2, 3 structure, 1 campaign, 2 ad sets, 3 to 5
okay.
ads per ad
Yeah,
set.
makes sense.
Yes. So our learning phase is on the ad set level. It's about 20 conversions, ideally like 2 to 4 days. So to get through the learning phase quickly, we suggest running an ad set with the max conversion bid type. This
Okay.
works to deliver as many conversions as possible within the daily budget so that advertisers can get the 20 conversions needed to pass the learning phase quicker and then have more potential to scale up faster from there. And then after the learning phase, they can switch over to target CPA if needed, whereas target CPA is a little bit more conservative as a bid type. The ad set won't spend if it doesn't find users to convert at a goal CPA bid. So our initial campaign setup would be max conversion, fully broad targeting, age and gender, day parting, things like that really limit the algorithm from collecting data, especially when you're starting. So we really recommend just giving it room to collect a bunch of data, do its thing, optimize for you. It's really smart if you give it room to be. And then 3 to 5 creatives to start.
So the first campaign should be broad targeting with no gender limitation or device or interest.
That's our recommendation, yes. And then down the line, you can also pull some audience insight reports, see if there are certain ages, locations, genders, things like that you want to try to target in the future. But having that initial data collection is very helpful for the algorithm, especially when starting off.
That initial collection, you mean to have a broad targeting, or you mean the pixel that is running on your website?
So both.
Both.
In terms of like the data collection, we do recommend using both pixel and postback. So it's, collecting as much data and accurate data as possible compared to each other. But then also fully broad targeting just allows it to collect data from other groups or demographics that you may have limited if you have the targeting layered in. So just data collection in general is really important and really sets your campaign up for success from there.
And once you collect, you said 20 conversions, you can scale it up.
Yes. So if you're happy with the performance of max conversion after the learning phase, you can scale up by just simply increasing budget 20 to 50% every 2 days or so.
Okay.
And if the CPA starts to spike as you're increasing budget, you can add a frequency cap of like 2 or 3 a day, or you have the option to switch the bid type over to target CPA. And with that bid type, like I said, a little more conservative. It's not going to spend the budget if it's not able to find users to convert, but many advertisers will run like a target CPA and a max conversion ad set, even in the same campaign to kind of balance out overall driving volume and controlling the CPA cost as well.
Okay, interesting. Nice to know. And about creatives, you said that, so 1, 2, 3, right? I remember 3 ads. What are the elements that drive higher CTRs or better engagement? What makes a great creative on Newsbreak?
For sure. So first of all, I just want to note when you have two ad sets, just note to separate vertical and horizontal creatives into different ad sets. So we do support image and video. It is about a 50-50 mix between both on the platform. So we do recommend testing both types of creative so they can kind of hit all the different in-app placements. For video, we tend to see the vertical 9x16, like UGC style, someone, using a product, doing something with it, or giving information like an educational type series. Whereas for image, we tend to see the 16x9 horizontal perform best.
Okay.
A static image, something like, if it's for a home mortgage offer, someone standing in front of their house with a deed. It's a basic image, not too much text over it. And then on the landing page, giving a lot more product information. And we tend to see those types of creatives couple like the high CTR and high CBR. But in general, I would say video tends to see like slightly higher conversion rates.
Video also on Newsbreak, so it has a bigger engagement and
Yes.
CTR. You said that UGC style videos are better than AI professional created
Yes.
videos.
Yeah. In general, I'd say our user base really connects more with kind of the UGC style videos, something that feels really real, like social proof, more, I guess, legitimate of seeing someone else do it rather than like an AI generated content. But that being said, obviously AI is, a very useful tool for many advertisers that
Yes.
are able to come up with many more creatives much quicker. I would just note to try to like use AI in a way that feels really authentic rather than a like cartoon looking image or video.
So like more real style ads than cartoon style, or
Right.
drawing or something.
Yeah, that would be our recommendation. And Newsbreak also does have a immersive video placement. It's basically a tab on the app where the whole screen is just vertical video or vertical image content, just continuous scroll. So people repurpose a lot of videos from TikTok or Reels or different places, just throw them into Newsbreak. So that's a good tip as well.
So the ads from Meta and the videos from TikTok perform as well on
They do.
Newsbreak.
Yeah. We're kind of in, like I mentioned, this weird space where it's kind of in between social, in between native. So things that do well on either kind of tend to do well on Newsbreak in general.
Okay, and what about in terms of, since we are talking about creatives, in terms of compliance, you mentioned that you don't accept like saying big news or something like that because you are a news app. But what other things that advertisers should pay attention to?
Yeah. So I would note, like I kind of mentioned, headlines, clear, benefit driven, curiosity inducing, like a strong call to action, like learn more, shop now, using tones that are informational and also kind of conversational, almost like news content or like blog styles where someone is reading about someone who feels like them, acts like them, and then may make a purchase or something that encourages a similar user to do the same. We also recommend using the dynamic headlines on the ad level. They will change based on the city, state, device type that the user has. So
Okay.
if I saw an ad, it would say like, "Hey, New York users, check this out." Whereas if my coworker saw it, it might say, "Hey, California users, check this out." But it's the same ad. So those are recommended as well.
So those are text dynamics added to the ad.
Yes, on the ad level.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Nice. Makes sense, actually.
Yeah. And we do also support GIFs as well. I do want to note that.
Gifts.
Yeah. And playable ads are something that we're starting to test out, more advertisers are using. So that if people do have playable ads, great place to test is Newsbreak right now. Not as much competition in that area. So
But it's public for everybody to try it out?
I believe it's going to be public very soon. If people are interested in testing it right now, they can just reach out to us and we're happy to put the feature on their account for the time being.
Okay, good to know. So you're adding playable ads as well.
Yeah.
And what about the budget? What's a good starting budget for someone who wants to test Newsbreak, for example, for the first time, like minimum budget?
Yeah. So the minimum budget, I believe, is $30 a day. However, that being said, it really depends on the price point of your product or of, I guess, your conversion. So we do recommend a daily budget 5 to 10 times your goal CPA so that you can get 5 to 10 conversions a day, meaning you'll get the needed 20 to pass the learning phase within just a few quick days. However, that being said, if your CPA was $300, we wouldn't necessarily recommend starting 10 times at 3,000. We would likely recommend anywhere between like probably 75 to like 1,000-ish a day to start. And then, like I mentioned, if you start to see good performance, you can increase budget like 20 to 50% every 2 days or so. But I would say minimum like 75-ish a day. And then just depending on your price point, kind of increase from there. But in general, higher budgets do get through the learning phase quicker. I would say that's a mistake that a lot of advertisers make where they come to Newsbreak, like, I just want to see how it performs. And then if all goes well, I will relaunch a higher budget. And if they have, a product that's $150 and they start with the $30 price point, the algorithm is going to pick up that there's not enough budget to find, good performance. So it's not going to drive ideal performance for you right away. So it's not necessarily the best method to test. Yeah. So that being said, I don't want to tell people to spend money. That's not what we're looking for. We're trying to give you tools to find success. If you're going to test 3 times with a $30 budget, you might as well just go once with a 90 and find good success off the first time. Yeah. So I'd say just in general, also with Newsbreak, we don't have as much creative fatigue as some other platforms. Some
Okay.
advertisers are finding success scaling the same creatives for like weeks or even months at a time. So in general, not as much creative
Even with
volume.
videos?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Just given like the audience demographic skews a little bit older, not as, the click-through generation necessarily as some other ad platforms. They're kind of in the mindset of like really consuming information, having a lot in front of them before they make decisions. Yeah, people can scale for a while.
Okay, so that's compared to TikTok, where I know that the ad fatigue, the videos they should be changed very often.
Yes. Yeah, I would say TikTok and Newsbreak creative similar in the sense that the algorithms, I think, prefer like this native feel content. Like at TikTok, they used to say, don't make ads, make TikToks. Although this isn't directly applicable to Newsbreak, the same sentiment is really there that, these native style creatives that blend in well with the surrounding.
TikToks on Newsbreak?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could definitely just repurpose, throw them in. But just in general, like the idea of making content that feels like it blends in well with the surroundings rather than something that really stands out as like, this is an ad kind of thing. So that I'd say is similar. But I'd say one difference is, like you mentioned, creative volume. TikTok advertisers a lot of time test a lot of creatives at a very high volume, kill losers fast. Whereas on Newsbreak, there's a little bit less creative fatigue. If you find something working, like really focus on scaling it up rather than duplicating and relaunching it. And let's see, another one would just kind of be like the style in the sense of like the click-through generation for TikTok, entertainment first, impulse driven, where Newsbreak's more like information first, context-based, older users actively reading news. So just kind of keep that in mind, I think, when you're creating ads or different headlines or things like that.
So more informational, not that entertainment, that much
Yes,
entertainment. So because people tend to read news and want to learn something.
exactly. Exactly.
You talk about scaling. So when scaling, what signals do you look for before pushing budget harder?
Yeah. So I think first thing is getting to the learning phase, not trying to make too many edits or scale up while your ad is still gathering information and allowing it to kind of optimize from there. So making sure you're through the learning phase. If CPA is where you want it or even a little bit above, I think that's okay. If it's, exponentially higher than you'd like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend scaling up because that ad set is going to be based on performance that isn't where you want it to be, and it's going to use that data to continue to optimize. So I would look to see CPIs where you want it. Conversion rates are you're getting at least like a few conversions a day, and then having a few different creatives within the ad set. We do find multiple creatives within each ad set allows you to get more higher conversion volume and then scale up. Whereas if you kind of just have one ad, you might definitely still find success. But as you continue to scale up, it might have a little bit more creative fatigue over time, where if you have a few in there, the algorithm will optimize accordingly.
Rotate. They will rotate and it's
Exactly.
much less fatigue. What about so the metrics? What are the important metrics advertisers should, I don't know, pay attention to spot a winning campaign early on?
Yeah. So I think CPA is definitely the number one. Our algorithm optimizes on CPA, so that's really what is most important, I would say. But we do bill on CPC. So while it's important, it's not as notable for like the algorithm learning in that sense. High CTR, high CBR, all good. However, if you do tend to see like a high CBR coupled with a high CBR with a low CTR, that would be an indication to test new creatives.
Okay.
Yeah, people are converting once they get to your page, but there's a low amount of people clicking to get there. So to get them in more effective initially, would test new creatives if you have high CBR, low CTR. Whereas if you had a high CTR, low CBR, we would recommend testing a new landing page. That means that people are clicking on the ad but aren't converting once they get there. So there's a few different kind of metrics we can look at to optimize on, but in general, I would say CPA is the most important.
Okay. And so there are like any tips or I don't know things that advertisers can do to make the difference, like I don't know, updating at headlines or something like that when they see this situation where they are not decided if they should scale or not.
Yeah. I would definitely look at the amount of conversions coming in, seeing that, there are people that are interested in it's getting to be consistent. After the learning phase, the algorithm will start to stabilize out a bit, where you might see fluctuations during it. So as you're starting to get towards the end of the learning phase, if you are starting to see it stabilize out, become a little more consistent, then that's a good sign to start to scale up. Where you have, a good performance, good foundation to work from. Whereas if you have like one day you're getting a lot and then the next few days you don't have any, I would then maybe reconsider like the creatives and different things that are within the ad set before you scale up.
So you would change like headlines or something in creatives, or you block some placement.
Yes. So I would say creative, like the actual asset, is more important for our algorithm rather than the headlines. So if you did have the option to do three different creatives versus just one creative with three different headlines, I'd recommend doing three different creatives.
So better to test new creatives than testing new headlines.
Yes.
Okay. How important is conversion tracking? I mean, I know how tracking works. So what happens if advertisers don't send conversion data to the platform?
Yes. If advertisers don't send conversion data to the platform, they are not going to find probably ideal success or where they want it to be. Just in full transparency, tracking is so important. It really matters, I guess, the type of data and then also the volume of data that comes back to the platform. The pixel is really important for getting like broader data collection, really important for retargeting. It collects a lot of the front end data, page views, click buttons. Page view and page load are both tracked by default while our base pixel is added, whereas postback is really helpful for more accurate conversion data, tracking back-end events, like the conversions. So having all of that pass back really helps the algorithm to optimize better for you, drive stronger performance where you want it to be, and then just continue to work for itself. Whereas if you're not passing back that data, the algorithm's really going to take that as a sign that performance is not good. It's going to stop spending because it's not going to want you to waste money on poor performance, where some advertisers are like, well, I had a ton of conversions, but my campaign stopped spending. And I look and they have no conversions in Newsbreak. And so even if they had them on their end, it wasn't being passed back. So our algorithm didn't know that. So it didn't continue to optimize for them. So tracking is very important. As many parts of the user funnel as you can, page view, click button, submit form, add to cart, add payment information, complete payment, everything you're able to pass back, you should. You'll still have one event that you select to optimize towards. That's going to be counting your conversions and going to your CPA, but having those other events installed on the back end helps the algorithm collect that additional data for you.
So send all the information you can. The better the information, the better the algorithm will optimize them.
Yeah, everything. The way that the algorithm functions pretty much.
About your time at TikTok, what can you tell me about that period? And I don't know, how does it compare campaigns on TikTok with Newsbreak or with other platforms?
Yeah. So I would say that there are a lot of similarities, kind of in the sense, like I kind of touched on before, where the algorithms kind of prefer this like native feeling content, having, this user generated side where there's a lot of social proof, things like that. They work well on both Newsbreak and TikTok. Additionally, another similarity would be the broad targeting recommendation when starting. Let the algorithm work on TikTok and on Newsbreak. Broad targeting consistently outperforms the over segmentation or restrictive targeting. If the creatives are good and they work, the algorithm will find the users that are most likely to convert for you. Whereas when you start to limit it or restrict it with targeting, it doesn't find as strong of initial success right off the bat. And some differences, I would say, like I kind of mentioned, the creatives, the types of creatives, TikTok is more entertainment first, click-through generation, where Newsbreak is more information first, instead of like stopping the scroll, it's more about earning the click. Whereas
I like that one. Very good one.
Where kind of stronger information, like legitimate information, beats kind of the more entertaining, gimmicky type style, trusting context, trusting tone. If it feels like an article you'd read on Newsbreak, that's a win if it's an ad. So the ad platforms are pretty similar in the sense that you set up your event tracking, add your payment method, broad targeting, few different creatives. I think just the volume of creatives, the amount of testing, and I guess the turnover rate maybe of how quickly you're killing and relaunching campaigns and ad sets is quicker on TikTok, where on Newsbreak, once you start to find success, you're really encouraged to like focus on scaling it up rather than just relaunching it a bunch of different ways.
And do you think, like, in terms of verticals, there are differences? Like, some verticals were better, probably, I think, on Newsbreak than on TikTok, right?
Yeah. So I'd say because Newsbreak is a little older skewing, things like finance, insurance, home services do really well. Where on TikTok, that definitely still exists. But at the same time, there's a lot more, like, I guess, quicker e-com, fast fashion, trending products, a hair tie that lights up or something where that there's a chance that goes well on Newsbreak. But in general, what we tend to see is, a bank offer, a home loan offer, get your windows cleaned in this state, the best company here, so different things like that, where the industry of the creatives are a little different, in the sense that it's just older skewing. Think of people who own homes, have kids, own their car, and that's their focus rather than, creating the most viral dance video in that sense.
Yeah. So in terms of ad buying, what doesn't translate well from TikTok to Newsbreak?
Yeah, I would say maybe like some of the more younger skewing, like retail or trending products. Newsbreak does have a lot of cosmetic stuff as well, but it's more like anti-aging, wrinkle removers, things like that, where TikTok might be a little bit more cosmetic in like lipsticks or makeup or things like that, just kind of given the age demographic, I think. And then also in terms of like the content, there's still travel and all that cooking and things like that on Newsbreak, but that's not the majority of the content, where my TikTok is, all of that type of content. Those would work on me in the TikTok app, but in the Newsbreak app, my mindset's a little different. So it's more like information forward.
And now with AI and all that, did you implement any AI optimization at Newsbreak?
Yes. So we use AI in a couple different ways. One way we recently have, it's helped us a lot, was with kind of the creative approval and the way that the kind of whole process looks at the creatives that are uploaded and then approval process, it's gone a lot faster. We used to have just complete manual reviewers. We still do have manual reviewers, but now it first goes through a round of AI. If it scans something that is against the ad policy, something, say graphic or violent or something like that, it's automatically going to reject it. And then if there's a question, it's still going to go through human review, have a second set of eyes. But in general, the time of ad approval has gone down from like maybe a day or two to a few quick hours, maybe even faster, like a few minutes if the AI just, gets it through right away. So that's been really good for us. Also, the AI will kind of look at different aspects of the creative. Like if the headline is super gimmicky, then it might not prefer it as much. If it says, you will lose 4 pounds in 10 days, that's a little misleading and might not be even possible. If it's not rejected, then it's definitely going to be looked at in a way that's not boosting the performance as strong as like higher quality creatives that are really legitimate, super trustworthy, have, a lot of info on the website, things like that.
But what if the ad will say, I lost 4 pounds in 3 days or something?
Yeah, it could still be approved, but I would say that in general, with kind of the way that AI is looking at it, that's still going to be kind of considered like somewhat misleading in a way. And
Shooting some like
yes, there are. And we still do have the human reviewers. Like if people notice something that doesn't seem right, if an ad is wrongfully rejected, AI isn't perfect, but it is exponentially better and quicker and more efficient. So we're still happy to always take another look. We're still on 24/7 reviewing everything ourselves, but just the higher volume of creatives, everything coming in, it makes everything more efficient.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
They can make people more efficient.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, what's your best advice for someone just starting now on Newsbreak?
Yeah,
If somebody wants to start now, what you would advise them?
sure. I would say pick a product that aligns well with the audience. Something related to the home, related to like auto, cars, ecom, health and wellness, things like that. Keep in mind the audience. Use broad targeting, high enough budget to get through the learning phase quickly. You want to find good performance right away. You don't want to test multiple campaigns, that aren't finding good performance, even if you end up spending the same amounts. Um, I would pick an offer that aligns well with the audience. Broad targeting, have a few different creatives that you're ready to launch right away. And then um, integrate as many parts of the event funnel as you're able to. So as much data can be passed back, the algorithm will really take that into account and then boost performance and find good success for you that way. And then I would also note, just like a little tip, we do tend to see better performance overall on weekends. We have a lot of advertisers, lead gen advertisers who have call centers that are closed on the weekends. So overall, there's just less competition. CPMs are lower. CPAs can be a bit higher. I mean, lower as well. Volume is higher.
Yeah.
So yeah, in general, if you're able to launch on like a Saturday or Friday, that's recommended. Take advantage of that good weekend performance, get the learning phase quickly. And you can also have the ad set automatically increase spend for certain days of the week. So would recommend doing that rather than like making a bunch of edits right after launching.
Okay, so to automatize everything better
Yeah.
than, okay, that's a good one. And what about someone who, I don't know, maybe someone who is already running native ads on other platforms or social platforms? What should they know before starting testing Newsbreak?
Yeah, I think they should know that it's similar. It's just a new audience, new traffic source. It's always good to diversify. I think, if you're not finding a ton of success with one platform, that doesn't mean your ads are bad. It means that you might just find some success elsewhere. So I think just diversifying is super important. You can definitely use a lot of the assets that if you're finding success elsewhere, just try them in Newsbreak. There's a good chance that they will do well there as well. And really just keep in mind broad targeting and multiple creatives. I think that's the biggest difference maybe with Newsbreak in some places. I know Meta, a lot of people will use like one ad set or ad group, one ad, where for Newsbreak, put a few different ads in each ad set. And that's really, I'd say like the biggest difference is just like the way that you initially structure the campaign for testing. like set yourself up for success right from the start.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I wanted to ask if you have, I don't know, if you would like to solve a big challenge in this performance marketing space, if you can think something. It's something that I always ask my guests.
Yeah.
If there is a problem that they would like to solve and they think they would love to have it solved. I don't know
Yeah.
what that would be.
A great question. I could talk about this all day. No, but I'd say probably just across the board, like in the industry overall, attribution is something that different ad platforms might attribute conversions slightly differently. Whereas like a cross-channel attribution that you could trust that accurately reflects the reality would be really helpful. I think in general, it would just be game changing to know what actually drove a conversion over time versus just like what showed up at the end, like the lift over the last click. So I'd love to find, I don't know if I'm the person for this, but just in general, someone to find a solve for like a privacy safe cross-channel attribution channel that has, shows incrementality, not just the final
Like showing different touch points and how much they influence the final conversion.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be great.
Yeah. Or like a even comparability across platforms of, different benchmarks. I think that could be helpful as well, like separately.
Interesting. Okay. Where can people can find you?
People can find me either on LinkedIn or you can just email me, Kaitlyn.Mulliken at Newsbreak.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for joining me today. It was amazing to have you. That wraps up today's episode of Champions of Performance Marketing. And
Awesome.
yeah, thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
for
me.
having me. And if anyone's interested in Newsbreak, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help. But it's great to meet you. Thank you.